In 2024, one of my favorite funnels to use to generate leads and grow your email list is the email newsletter funnel. Now, in this video, I'm going to share how the email newsletter funnel works, how you can build your own email newsletter funnel, and why it is that this basic, simple funnel that we used back in 2006 is one of my favorite funnels to use in 2024. If you're ready, let's dive in and start by seeing how the newsletter funnel works, because how it works is key to why I love this funnel so much for 2024. So let's dive in. In 2024, I think that one of the biggest opportunities for business owners is content marketing. And it's for that reason that the newsletter funnel is one of my favorite funnels for business owners to use. And I was testing this all throughout 2023. It was an incredible funnel, and I really love the simplicity of this funnel. If you watch more of my videos over time, you'll see I'm a huge proponent of simplicity. Simplicity is key to growing a business. We may think, I would think that a business that grows requires some complexity, right? But that's not the case. I remember when I got involved in managing large advertising accounts, spending $100,000 a month or even $1 million per month, I was amazed at how simple those businesses operated, and as a result, how simple the advertising strategies were to grow businesses like that. And it's that foundation of simplicity which is why I love the newsletter funnel. When I first got involved in marketing back in the early 2000s in online marketing and direct response marketing, I remember this transition that happened. For me, it was the transition from going offline to going online. And one of the transitions from going offline to online is, okay, well, what does a lead look like now, right? Before it was a phone number, right? Or somebody giving us permission to contact, or somebody making an inbound call. What is a lead for us now? And over time, we started to see people pretty early on in online marketing start to use email newsletters. But then around 2008, 2009, a little bit beyond that, we started to see email newsletters really fade out. And it wasn't that people didn't have them at all, it's just that they weren't the primary funnel. And I think that the reason for that was because we were starting to see platforms become more mature, like Facebook launching its advertising platform. And as we did that, we saw targeting options that emerged. And as we had those targeting options, we started to see that we could easily modify our lead generation process to use lead magnets instead of newsletters, right? We could say, we're writing this ad, then we're increasing the conversions from that ad by creating a lead magnet that was specific to what we were talking about. So we saw this increase in conversion rates when we started to use lead magnets that were congruent throughout the funnel, right? But something else happened. When people were using strictly an email newsletter, what they noticed was that over time, the email newsletter trained people not to open their emails. And the reason for that was because even if it was something that you subscribed to and you wanted to participate in and read, you would see that come from that individual and you would be like, oh, I'm not going to open it yet because I want to save it for later. I don't have time to read it right now. I'm going to save it for later. And then over time, those emails would build up. All the while, you're training your email list not to open your email because there's nothing in the email that's going to get them to click over to the site, right? We were actually training people not to click on our emails and not to open our emails because of the behavior of an email-specific newsletter. But in 2022, I noticed some people starting to bring the newsletter back. And I think that this was because of the changes that we saw with the iOS 14 update. We started to see funnels not convert as well. We started to see, less sophistication. We basically, took a few steps back when it came to marketing and advertising. And for me, when I saw this and saw these things happening, I thought, oh my goodness, we're just going back to what we did before and what worked before. But there were some people like Justin Welsh who innovated the way that the newsletter was delivered. So one, the newsletter no longer trained people not to open our emails or click on our emails. And two, because of the technology available to us, we were able to simplify the newsletter process and make it a better experience and something that can actually convert leads into traffic and customers, right? And that's because the newsletter is so simple. The funnel itself is really only made up of 3 or 4 parts, right? Depending on your specific newsletter. So let's dive into each of these parts. So the first part that we have here is we have this simple landing page, right? I love, I'll reference Justin Welsh a lot in this video because I think that he's revived the newsletter better than anybody else, but there's also people like Sahil Bloom, Cody Sanchez, Matt Gray, many others who have brought the newsletter back really successfully as a tool to grow their business. And so like if you look at Justin Welsh's newsletter, especially in the beginning, right? If you look back, go on like the Wayback Time Machine and look back at what his newsletter used to be, it was even more simple. And these newsletters are basically just like a headline and a subheadline, right? So we got headline, subheadline, we've got the logo right here. You've got an area to opt in. You've got the button to submit that you want to join that newsletter. And then you've got some testimonials down on the page. So like if you go to Justin Welsh's, you'll see that he has several testimonials from really high profile people. Dan Coe, Sahil Bloom, Dickie Bush, all these people that if you're on Twitter or LinkedIn, you're probably following one of these people. And they're giving credibility to his newsletter because they also subscribe. One thing that Justin does really well on his newsletter, I think better than anybody else, is leverages social proof. If you go to that newsletter and you look at it, you'll notice that every piece of it, every headline, subheadline, every piece of that newsletter is designed in a way that makes you feel like if I don't subscribe to this newsletter, I'm missing out. Right? So opting into that newsletter becomes a no-brainer simply because you feel that your status would decline if you didn't opt into that newsletter. He's leveraging social proof perfectly. And then once you opt in, right, they get some sort of a tag or go on some sort of a list in your CRM. A lot of people for newsletters are using ConvertKit, but you can use ActiveCampaign. That's what I'm currently using. Any platform is fine. The platform that you're using doesn't really matter that much, especially in the beginning when you're just getting started, right? But those are the basic components of the newsletter opt-in page and what it takes to make that convert. And then once they're on that list, then they're going to start receiving the newsletter on whatever your cadence is. I think it should be at least a weekly newsletter. I've seen people do them daily. I think that's a little bit much, but the people who have done it have told me that they're seeing success with it. The other piece of this that we'll get into in a minute is just whatever they get, whatever the cadence of your newsletter is, that's the frequency that you'll send that broadcast email out to people who have that tag or on that list, right? But then as soon as they submit the page, they're going to go to the thank you page. Now, this is where I think the newsletter can provide a great opportunity. Earlier on, Justin Welsh has changed how he's done his newsletter now. On the thank you page at least, but earlier on, one of the things that he was doing is he was thanking them and giving them the confirmation that they had just made a good choice and helping them to see what they were going to learn. And this is one of the things that he did that I really liked. He gave them some resources like that they could get access to right away, right? Because his email newsletter goes out on a Saturday. And so if it's Monday, like I have to wait to receive any value until Saturday. So what he did is basically to give a sample of what you were going to receive. He said, hey, here's 3 or 4 or 5 of some of my best newsletters or guides that you can get access to right now. And he put those right on the thank you page. Now, currently he's changed this and he's using a survey, but that just shows that this thank you page is really adaptable. And you can also use this thank you page as an opportunity to stack additional funnels. So for me, for a while, what I was doing is when people opted into my newsletter, I stacked my community funnel, which I'll talk more about community funnels in the future, but I stacked my community funnel on the back end of that so that people who are subscribing to my newsletter basically got a bonus free community. And the way that I designed that community, it was designed with the thought in mind of, I want to give for free like a coaching program. We actually do coaching calls in that community. We're adding courses into that community. And I said, I want to give for free what most people would charge like $5,000 for, right? So that was my upsell or my immediate value add, is a community that was aligned with the purpose of my newsletter. So you can stack funnels here really naturally to provide immediate value after they opt in, since they're not getting that newsletter right away. But then once you have your cadence, so weekly, bi-weekly, whatever that cadence is for your newsletter, you then start sending out the email. And this is what I like about what Justin Welsh did with his newsletter, that I felt trained people to open his emails and to click on his emails. So in the newsletter, in the email, he put the newsletter content in the email. But right at the top of the newsletter, he gave an opportunity, before they dove into the newsletter, he gave an opportunity to click the link to read it on his website. And so the newsletter was primarily directing people to the website. And when you got to the website, one of the things that I noticed was that the website version of the newsletter, while it was the same content, it just provided a better user experience. So what I found is that when I was subscribed to his newsletter, I found myself frequently going to the website to experience it and read it there, because I liked the experience on the website more than I liked the experience in the email. So it wasn't that it was bad, it was just in the emails very basic, where on the website I could experience it more, it was just cleaner, and it was just a better experience. And so I found myself going to the website. And there was opportunities to make purchases within the email as well, but a lot of things in the email that were directing you back to his website. And that's one of the things that I think he did really, really well, among other things. I mean, he's an expert at this, but among other things, the way he delivered that content was really, really good, and it solved those problems that we had with email newsletters. Now, when you go to the site, the newsletter is a really simple layout, and I think that the best setup for this or tech stack to use as far as building out the email newsletter, in my opinion, is Webflow. Webflow provides a great experience. It's lightning fast for SEO purposes. It's easy to set up, and it's easy that even if you're not tech savvy, if you have somebody that like sets up the initial site and newsletter for you, or you do it yourself, you can do pretty much anything that you want. And once you have that set up, you can just copy and paste the content into it, even if you're not tech savvy, and publish it. It's a really easy user experience. And so sending it to the site, you typically have like an image up top, right? That an image, or you could even put a video up here if you chose to, but you've got an image up top. Then on the site, you've got the title. Now, one of the things that Justin has done here is he's got enough people on his email list that he has added sponsors, and he's monetized this placement right below the title with 2 sponsors, right? So each week he has the opportunity to have 2 sponsors, and they can, that's basically keeping the newsletter free. He positions it very well. And then you just have your content that provides value. It can be read in 5 to 10 minutes or less, and it provides tangible value to the user. And at the end of the newsletter, this is probably my favorite thing that Justin did with his newsletter. He had a phrase that transitioned into his calls to action that did not make you feel like, okay, I just got some value provided to me and now I'm being pitched to buy a product or a service. It didn't feel that way at all. You go down there and it's just a very light, mild call to action, and it directs you to one of his offers based on what you're interested in. And the copywriting in that section, the way that he has this laid out, is just incredible. But you'll notice that as he's doing these weekly and as he's doing his marketing on Twitter and LinkedIn, you'll notice that there are actually thousands of backlinks to his products and to his newsletter. He's linking it everywhere, making a lot of surface area for purchases. So this is a very simple funnel. But here's the key, in my opinion, of why this works so well. So if you were to do some of the things that we were doing maybe 4 or 5 years ago in marketing, let's say you're like, okay, I've got this one angle in my business, or this one topic that we talk about, and we've got a core product around this topic, and so we should have a lead magnet or a webinar or something for this specific topic. And what that does is it makes all of your content marketing more difficult, because you've got to try to think, okay, here's what this post or here's what this video is about. I have to go and find my funnel to see if we have a lead magnet or an offer that would align well with this content that I can direct people back to. And if you don't, you're like, okay, well, should I publish the content even though I don't have the lead magnet, or should I just not direct the link to anywhere? Or should I go out and create a lead magnet before I publish this, or should I do a webinar? And you'll see that with those questions, it just becomes more complicated than it needs to be. So here's what I love about the newsletter. Let's go through just a few scenarios of how you could use this and why this is a great funnel that you should be starting with, especially if you're using content marketing in 2024. So one, let's say you're on Twitter or X. So you've got posts. So you have your post, right? You've written your content on the post, and the post gets higher engagement than normal, okay? So you've got your average and you've got higher engagement than average. Well, you can use something like Hype Fury to set up what's called a plug, which is just a nested tweet that if this tweet is performing well, it's going to add a tweet below the original tweet, and that's going to notify the people who have already engaged, and it's going to kind of push it back into the algorithm. And for the people who engage in the future, you can basically use this with something like, if you liked this, then you may really like my weekly newsletter. And you're sending them back to that opt-in page, right? So you don't have to think about like, what if this, do I need to create a lead magnet around this content? Nothing like that. Just, hey, if you like stuff like this, then you would probably also like my newsletter, and here's where you can join it, right? So that's one example of using this with content marketing on X. Let's say you're on LinkedIn, right? So you're on LinkedIn and you write a post, and you've got content, and you're writing a post, and you write the post, and you write the post. And there's two ways that you can do this. So for one, at the bottom, right, you can kind of separate it and be like, hey, if you liked this post, then you would probably love my weekly email newsletter, and you link out to the newsletter, to the opt-in page. Another thing could be like, if this post is really in line with past newsletter content, you can direct people back to the article itself. And then if people like that article, then they may come back over here and opt in. So you're creating this feedback loop or this cycle that is really easy to get started with, right? You don't have to overthink it. You just have a few places that you can direct people to from content that you've already created. Now let's say that you're on YouTube and you're publishing, a longer video on information about whatever it is that you cover, right? So you've got a video that you've created, and people are watching that video, and if they like that video, they may subscribe and do all sorts of things. But if they really like the video, they may want to read the description. And in the description, you can put a link back to the opt-in of your newsletter. And or if this video is really in line with an article, you may also decide to send them back to that specific article. Or here's the thing, you can do both, right? So the reason that I love this funnel so much for 2024 is that, one, I think in 2024, content marketing is going to be one of the biggest opportunities, one of the best opportunities for entrepreneurs. And the other reason is that this funnel is simple. So you don't have to have, a complex webinar or all these different things to get started. You can just have, a basic landing page, a basic thank you page, and the ability to create content on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly cadence, whatever that looks like. Again, I recommend weekly. So as long as you have those abilities, you can easily set this up. You also don't have to have something extremely expensive like ClickFunnels to set this up. You can do this on a shoestring budget, and you can use something like Webflow. And if you use something like Webflow, it's very cost effective and it's very affordable. And even though there are some things like you can do pretty much anything with it, it's easy enough that you can learn it quickly. And it's so well documented that anything that you need to learn how to do with Webflow, you can go find a tutorial on how to do it, right? And once you get it figured out, it's really easy to systematize how you publish your weekly newsletter. And so this can be run on a shoestring budget. It's simple, it builds credibility. It's a content marketing funnel itself, right? Because of how this is designed around content. So it itself is content, and it goes with everything. So you can use this with any other, type of content that you're using on any platform. It doesn't matter. You can redirect back to this simple funnel and get opt-ins organically and grow your email list organically. So if you're trying to use content marketing in 2024, I'd highly recommend that you check out a newsletter funnel. Use that as an opportunity to grow and as a piece of your content marketing plan. Now, if you like videos like this about marketing, about growing your business, then I'd love to have you click that subscribe button and watch future videos. And I look forward to seeing you there in another video.